A group of Ukrainian children have been visiting the U.S. to help raise awareness of mass abductions by Russia. Ukrainian authorities estimate that at least 19,000 children have been forcibly relocated from Ukraine to Russia since Russia's full-scale invasion 2 years ago. EW's Ines Pohl reports now from Washington, D.C.
Sasha, Ilya and Kira are victims of Russia's war in Ukraine. The 3 children were abducted by Russian soldiers during the brutal siege of Mariupol 2 years ago, after most of their parents were killed in the attack. They traveled to Washington to share their stories and seek support from lawmakers to continue funding Ukraine.
While we're working very hard with Congress and the White House and everyone on the additional supplementary budget, this issue of kids, and especially having their voices, having brave 11-year-old, 13-year-old saying, I wanted to go back home. I am Ukrainian. I didn't want to be turned into Russian, and they were holding me against my will. This is such a powerful message.
The organizers are trying to avoid re-traumatizing the children by having them repeat their stories multiple times. They have provided pre-taped interviews for an event at the Ukraine House.
Росіяни говорили, що я мамі не потрібен, що віддадуть в прийомну сім'ю в Росії. Уявіть, вони навіть не дали мені попрощатися з мамою. Місяць ждав і бабусю, і думав, може, мама приїде, а мама не приїжджала і не приїжджала. І коли вже бабуся приїхала, я переживав, щоб мене не забрали так, як і у мами.
Later, we talked with the 13-year-old Sasha and the 14-year-old Kira outside.
I hope for victory and for my mother to return. I dream of becoming a firefighter. I dream of helping people and animals in difficult situations.
I remember lying in the hospital with injuries. They told me I might be taken to an orphanage.
But her grandfather managed to rescue her.
I was very relieved because I was afraid it wouldn't be possible for them to bring me back.
The grandfather traveled with her to Washington.
Children are the future of any country. Children are the future of our Ukraine. And in my opinion, by taking away children from our country, they are simply trying to deprive our country of its future. So I am seeking help to assist in bringing back our children.
At least 20,000 Ukrainian children are still being held hostage. These 3 are among the 300 who have been rescued. They are using their voices to help free those who weren't as fortunate.
For more, let's bring in now Vsevolod Prokofiev. He is with Save the Children Ukraine. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We heard a little bit earlier that Ukrainian authorities estimate at least 19,000 children have been forcibly taken by Russia. Many, however, say that the number is much higher. What is the assessment of your organization? How have you experienced this?
So the short answer is that there is no sort of, not a sort of verified and secure number that we can operate with. We certainly have different estimations provided by Russian and by Ukrainian government, but in fact the short answer is that we don't know. And this brings so much complexity to the issue because we're not able to properly trace those children. And as a matter of fact, we're not able to 100% fully facilitate their return and reunification with their families.
Can you give us a window into what happens to some of them?
It is, when we're talking about children that have been separated from their families, there is so much upheaval and uncertainty for them because they are being put to an alien environment, and often they even have not a chance, not an opportunity to be able to contact their parents or relative, or maybe even to know what their fate is. And it makes them so vulnerable on so many levels, vulnerable for harm, abuse, exploitation, or even being trafficked. And at Save the Children, our main concern is, of course, children's well-being. And since we are facilitating the returns through our local partners here in Ukraine, we have been able to witness this atrocious aftermath that children have upon being returned to their families. And we know cases when children could not spend a minute away from their parents upon being returned, and required weeks of psychosocial support and psychological work before being able to interact with other children again and do simple things as just go to school.
And, of the tens of thousands believed to have been abducted, we have to mention that only a few hundred actually have been returned or rescued so far. You mentioned that you're working with partners. Give us a sense of how your partners, how Ukraine, as well as going about finding some of these children and then bringing them back.
So what we've seen so far are just a series of sporadic returns, and the most effective way so far is proven to be just parents going there and taking their children back, being facilitated by civil society organizations and some major donors. What we really see is that the third-party diplomacy is also playing a very significant role in this, judging by the returns that Qatar, for example, facilitated. But when we're talking about thousands of children being forcibly taken to Russia, we need some sort of a structure, some sort of a mechanism. And when we cannot expect any sort of a diplomatic dialogue being established in the near future between Ukraine and Russia, it is important that third parties engage into this situation and facilitate this process, as well as international donors. And we, as child rights and humanitarian organizations, are involved into tackling the aftermath of this.
Vsevolod Prokofiev with Save the Children Ukraine, thank you so much.